My husband and I met in college, where he played baseball. After he graduated he started playing professionally. Without getting into too much detail, while he is obviously an exemplary athlete, he isn't very well known in the grand scheme of professional baseball. Nevertheless, he still brings in much more than the average American due to his career. I understand that the professional athlete world is generally filled with stories of bad marriages, but when it was confirmed that he would be going pro, we sat down and talked about both of our fears, insecurities, and plans for the future. I gave him the opportunity to say that he wanted to live the single life and he said he loved me. In addition, he cited his parents' happy marriage as a motivator and said that he understands that everything outside of our family and circle of friends is just noise, and I helped him keep his sense of reality. In college, girls would sometimes get aggressive with flirting with him, but he never cheated and would be honest about sometimes feeling temptation, but also how he set boundaries to avoid cheating. I do not think that I have changed much as a person since our college days. I work out, constantly encourage him, and try to make the best of the time we spend together. I run a pretty successful freelance marketing and photography business, but manage my client volume so that I can be available for my husband. Financial stability is important to my husband because he doesn't want to be an athlete statistic that ends up bankrupt sometime in his 40s, so I spend conservatively and we never fight about money. But no matter how much I try to keep us connected, it is inevitable that he travels so much of the year, and when he is on a plane to another city, I cannot always be there with him. I know bonding with his teammates is important, and so is enjoying being young and having disposable income. I started sensing that something was wrong, but it was a gradual thing. When he first started his career we would FaceTime all the time whenever he was away, but that became less often, and then he would often have darting eyes when we were FaceTiming, as if his attention was elsewhere. There became too many times now in hindsight when I'd try to video chat him and he'd have an excuse to make it a phone call instead, like the room was too dark or he didn't know what was happening with his camera. Then when we were home together I'd catch him looking at his phone, looking at me, and then quickly looking away. Or just standing in the bathroom smiling at something. A few days ago he broke down and told me I needed to get tested for studs, and said he's sorry but he's been unfaithful to me. He told me he cheated on me several times. He then said one of the women he slept with multiple times was married and she found out through a pap smear that she likely had HIV. She told him her husband just assumes he gave it to her somehow since he slept around during college, since most men are asymptomatic, but that she was also sleeping with another very promiscuous person and he needed to tell me to get one. She also said to not tell me her name because her husband will go scorched earth if he finds out. I told him I was leaving and changing the locks unless he came clean about how many women he had slept with. He put his head down and said besides the married woman, who he did give me the name of, he slept with 3 other girls, 2 he met at the club and 1 he met at a hotel. He said that his cheating had nothing to do with me, and when I asked if he just wasn't satisfied with marriage anymore, he quickly said no and he loved our marriage, he wanted to grow old with me and have a family. I told him I was going to get a room at a hotel across town and he got on his knees and begged me not to go, but I ended up doing just that. I now just moved into an investment property that we have let sit empty and do not know what to do. I feel like a failure. My parents have toughed it out for decades and here I am unable to get to 30 without having an imminent threat to my marriage. What do I do? He's been texting and saying that he couldn't handle the temptation but that everybody around him is cheating and it is hard. He also claimed that he fell for the words of superstitious teammates and acted out due to his anxiety. I'm friends with other girlfriends/wives of athletes and they said that they just accepted that all men cheat or something along those lines. Or that sports turns everybody into narcissists and that I was not physically there to validate him, so he strayed. I feel like a fool for believing he would remain faithful.